Assalamu alaikum, dear friends in academia. Welcome to our Iraqi Women Humanities Scholars webinar series. Today's important and valuable webinar, Publishing in Scopus and Web of Science journals, is presented by our dear and genuine scholar, Dr. Maysa Jabr. I can go on talking about Maysa forever. I had the pleasure of teaching her as an undergraduate student, but I didn't have the pleasure, unfortunately, of teaching her as a graduate student in her postgraduate studies as I was abroad. But I know that ever since her graduation, Maysa has been working so hard with wholehearted devotion to serve Iraqi academia and to develop herself to be the five-star scholars she is. I'm all admiration and pride, and I really wish her the best of luck. May Allah bless you, dear Maysa, for all your efforts. You're doing great, and we're all very proud of you. To save time, I have chosen a few notes from her extensive CV, and I'm going to kind of be brief so that we will have time to enjoy her presentation. Maysa Jabr completed her PhD in English and American Studies from the University of Manchester, UK in 2011. Her doctoral work examined literary representations of criminal femme fatales in American hard-boiled crime fiction in relation to medical, legal work on criminality, gender, and sexuality. Now she's a lecturer at the Psychological Research Center, and she teaches different modules on literature and English language to undergraduate and postgraduate studies in many Iraqi institutions, academic institutions. She was a fellow at the University of Massachusetts, Boston from September to November 2013, and she is the recipient of fellowship in the International Visitor Leadership Program in the US in 2017. She published extensively in Iraq and in prestigious journals abroad with names, famous names like Palgrave, Cambridge Scholars, the Arab World English Journal, Rowman and Littlefield Publishers, the Canadian Review of American Studies, and in critique, studies in contemporary fiction, Taylor and Francis, and many others. Her book, The Criminal Femme Fatales in American Hard-Boiled Crime Fiction, came out in 2016 with Palgrave Macmillan Springer, and this is a well-known publishing company. She attended and presented at numerous conferences abroad in the US, England, and other places. And she is the recipient of many honors and awards, both in Iraq and abroad. As I said, I can go on, forever talking about Maysa. Her CV is so impressive, but just to save time, because we're all looking forward to her presentation on this really valuable, important subject for all academics. Thank you very much for attending. And Maysa, the floor is yours now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mona. First of all, I'm very grateful to you. I feel a little bit overwhelmed by this wonderful introduction. You have taught me, and I still learn from you each and every single day. You're an inspiring woman and scholar, and I think all of us in this group, we feel grateful to you always. Today I'm going to present about publications. This is a just let me share the screen with you, and then we can start promptly. So here we go. Can you see the screen, please, Dr. Adra?
Yes, it's on.
So I'm just gonna do a show, and then we're gonna start. So this is a hot topic, if you want. Everybody in academia, especially in the last, I should say, several years, is concerned with publishing. This is what you hear most of us talk about in addition to teaching. And we are all under this pressure of publishing in good journals. So today I am going to cover a few topics with you that are important to it includes some tips, but they are also important to a good planning for publications in general. The topics that are going to be covered under today's presentation include, so we are going to talk about why do we publish, and then for whom. We are going to talk about indexing services. So this is as in the title in Scopus and Web of Science, and this is we are going to talk about how we find journals, how we read what we need in these journals, and we are going to talk about the indexing of these good prestigious scholarly journals. We are also going to talk about certain consideration in publishing in index journals. So what do you need to do in order to maximize your chance to publish, and then reasons for rejections, and finally some strategies to improve your chances of publication. So we are going to start with a general overview of publications and journals, and then we're going to end up with more specific tips as how to maximize our chances of publication in good, not just journals, but also for publishers as well. So the first question, so I'm going to start with a general introduction for the topic. And the first question that we need to ask, why do we need to publish? So a lot of us are going to say it's just tarqiya, right? This is the first thing, we need it for our also annual evaluation. But if we look at the circle, if we look at knowledge in the middle, we talk about research as the generation of, you generate knowledge through research. And then with teaching, we dissemination of that knowledge. And then with the extension or the application of knowledge is done through publication. So it's within, all knowledge is within one circle, and we do research, we teach, and then we publish. They're all connected to one another. You cannot just do teaching without research, and so on and so forth. So the two are very much connecting, teaching and publishing, or research in this case. Now, why do we publish? More specifically for the PhD, it's a requirement for graduation, for promotion, for faculty members. And then there is something also, a psychological reward for publication. You need to be, all of us, we publish also to be distinguished, to feel recognized within our field of knowledge. Okay, I don't want to be just distinguished in general, but within our field of knowledge, I want to establish our names, we establish our own position within that specific field of knowledge or subfield of knowledge. So, and also to, our publication contributes to the accreditation level within the college or university. Dr. Nagam would love that. So it is one of the criteria that any accreditation committee looks at, publication for faculty members, and this is an important one to improve the level, the quality of the research published out of a certain university or a college. Now, when we say publication, we have levels. We just don't talk about just publication in general. Today, I'm going to talk about indexing level, and one of the purposes of this presentation is to share with you some tips as how to know the good journal for your research. So this is kind of one of the aims of today's presentation. But when we talk about publication, we are talking about levels. So we start with a book chapter, which is sadly not accepted in our promotion procedure here in Iraq. When I was a PhD student in Manchester, one of the things that my supervisor told me that I need to start with publishing book chapters, and I have, but they were not accepted in my promotion. So, and I have one with Cambridge. I have another, like I have really good book chapters. So we start with the book chapter because these are easier to kind of attain. And then conference with the unconference procedures, proceedings, sorry. So we have a book chapter and then conference proceedings and then non-index journals and then index journals. And then there's a level of difficulty. So with index journals, and this is what we are going to focus on today, these are the difficulty level is high. It's not easy to publish in journals indexed under Scopus or Web of Science, and it is time consuming, and it's not an easy task to do. So just to let you know, when we talk about publication, we are not just talking about one level, but multiple levels and multiple levels of difficulty as well. Now, when we talk about today, everybody talks about Scopus and Claravate or Web of Science. These words are recurrent in our in academia in general, but I find it more and more kind of academics starting to recognize these things. But let's say in comparison to 6-7 years ago, these words were not very much talked about. But today, we're all under pressure to publish in. They call it I publish in Scopus, which is not correct term to say. You don't publish in Scopus, you publish in a journal indexed under Scopus. So that's kind of one clarification that I want to make. So when we talk again about the indexing services, again, there are also levels. So when we talk about, in Google Scholar, it's a database, and you've got a lot of journals are indexed under Google Scholar, but it is a wide coverage, and it's not as prestigious or as scholarly as, let's say, Elsevier, which is, the publisher of Scopus, or Web of Science, which is published by Claravate. So you've got levels, and DOAG, this is the directory of open access journals. So these are the journals that are open to the public. You can download the PDF version of the topic. So there are also levels of these indexing services. I just, by the way, I want to explain that I teach this within like a 3-day workshop. So there are so many details to be told and so many details to be shared, but I am going to give the kind of very abridged version if you want, and I'm going to try to maximize everything. That I'm going to just try to share with you everything I know within the period I'm given. Now, with the Web of Science, it's first of all, it is a citation database. That's the first thing that we need to emphasize. It started as an institute of scientific information, and it was founded by a person called Dr. Eugene Garfield in 1960. And it was owned by Thomson Reuters. So if you remember, let's say 5 years ago, the word Web of Science was not used. Everybody was talking about impact factor and Thomson Reuters. Why are we no longer talking about it these days? Simply because Claravate bought Thomson Reuters, and now Web of Science is no longer owned by Thomson Reuters, but it is owned by Claravate, and that's just the simple fact. Okay, so everybody when we first heard about impact factor, it was associated with Thomson Reuters, but it is no longer the case, simply because the company was bought by another company, which is called the Claravate. So it covers when we talk about Web of Science, it's as I said, it's a huge database that offers indexing services. So Garfield was one of the first ones to actually come up with the idea of a scientific or a science index, and he was the early ones to give what we call today an impact factor. So it covers thousands of academic journals which are available on their website. Okay, and I'm going to show examples. I'm going to try my best to clarify as I go with these details. Okay, now with there are three services when we talk about indexing under Web of Science. There are the three main things that are important to us as academics to recognize: Science Citation Index, or Science Citation Index Expanded, Social Sciences Citation Index, and Arts and Humanities Citation Index. And the third one is us for us in English, whether it's language or linguistics, translation, or literature, we are concerned with the third one. Why? This is basically the impact factor we are looking for in any journal, okay? And I'm going to show you how to find it, basically. So when we look for a journal, and we say this is a good journal, this is a scholarly journal, we need to see if it has impact factor. The impact factor of Web of Science is the citation index, okay? And that's just just terminology, simple terminology. Just think about it. When you talk about Web of Science, we are talking about citation index, okay? That's which means basically impact factor, as simple as that, okay? Now, there is also a new citation service that's provided by Web of Science, and it's called for the Emerging Sources Citation Index. These journals just joining in. This, by the way, does not mean it has impact factor. So be careful. A lot of journals have emerging sources citation index, but it does not mean it is an impact factor. So just be careful. But they mean they just join in. So they're the new emerging. But if we want to know the third one, Arts and Humanities Citation Index means that we've got an impact factor. Now, basically, a very, very simple method to look for a journal is just type in Web of Science master list. As simple as that in Google. Just type in master list Web of Science. And what we look for is this screen. So as you can see, on the left side of the screen, you find the Claravet Analytics. That's the company. That's the company that owns Web of Science, okay? So it's basically the publisher, okay? That's the publisher. And next to it, you find in the middle, master journal list. That's basically what you find. And they have a search bar, just like Google. So you just basically type in the title, and what you look for is the following. So, for example, you have, I just chose a journal, Journal of Medical Systems, and it is by Springer, as you can see. And I want to see if this journal has an impact factor or not. So basically, I type in here in the, as you can see as you can see, there is Journal of Medical Systems, and I just press search. As simple as that. You just copy paste and just be careful about the spelling, right? So the spelling should be washed. That you need to be careful that it is correct, okay? And then you just type in the title of the journal and press search, and what you find is this. Okay, so this is kind of the results that you find here. At the bottom, please look at the bottom here, Journal of Medical Systems in all caps. And what do we find here in purple? At the end, this is the impact factor. This journal has Science Citation Index Expanded, so it means it has impact factor. This is a good journal. And by the way, from the publisher, we know that it is a good journal. Okay, so but it does have a citation index, which means an impact factor. Okay, another thing that the Web of Science, Web of Science provides. It's called Journal Citation Reports. Okay, and this is kind of a report that is issued every June, I think, and it is a comprehensive report of the journal of the impact factor of all journals. By the way, the letter from the Ministry of Higher Education confirms for the promotion process, you need to confirm that that this journal has an impact factor with the journal citation reports. Okay, so the impact factor is published every June, and it's not free, by the way, but I have downloaded a copy. You need a subscription in order to have access to the reports, but basically it looks like something like that. This is the Inside Journal Citation Reports, and it has all the citation. By the way, when we say impact factor, and I haven't explained that, probably a lot of you are already familiar with this. So, but the basic quality or criterion that we talk about when it comes to indexing, this is a good journal versus, within Scopus or within Web of Science. It all depends on citation. Impact factor is citation, and it is done according to sophisticated statistical process that they have. But they basically run an equation, and they see a citation. So this is why sometimes a very good journal is dropped out of Scopus, is dropped out of Web of Science for 1 year because it did not have enough citations. It is as simple as that. Okay, but we don't care about how. We care that this journal is there, and I'm just gonna show you for the citation reports. It looks something like that, and I checked the same journal that I just looked at. I searched for Journal of Medical Systems, and it shows me that it is within the report. So if I am going to apply for a promotion with a paper in this journal, I'm okay. Okay, so this is an evidence that this journal has an impact factor. It is vouched for. Nothing is suspect here, if you want. The Web of Science offers also another service, which is it's for proceedings, for conferences. So there are conferences which are also registered under Web of Science. So it enables us to basically see certain conferences and the proceedings. I mean, to check the proceedings are also indexed under Web of Science, and it is called Conference Proceedings Citation Index Science. Okay, and most of these science conferences are actually within science. This is from what I have seen, but it offers that service just to check if the proceedings are indexed under Web of Science. So this is what I have. This is something that is very quick overview. As I said, I could have gone an hour talking about the little details and the a little bit of application, but I don't have the time for it. So I'm just going to give you as much as I could within the time available. But this is kind of what we've got with the Web of Science. Basically, just type in Google Web of Science master list, and then you have the website, you have the search box, type in the journal name, and you'll find the information that you need. And if you are looking for an impact factor, you are looking for citation index. That's the term. That's a very brief summary of what we are looking for Web of Science. Now, with Scopus, it's a very similar service, but with a little bit of a different terms. Okay, that's all. This is how a Scopus website looks when you just type it in. And of course, you can have a Scopus ID if you have published papers under indexed under Scopus. So that is something I can also maybe do something else about it later on. It's a whole kind of another topic for another day. But Scopus it's another database, and it is published by Elsevier. It's a very famous publisher, Elsevier. They publish a lot of papers on technical and medical and engineering literature. So they publish a lot of papers in many different fields, including, of course, the humanities. So it's not just limited to science, but they do a lot of publications in technology, medicine, social sciences, and it is published mostly in English. And it's an article and abstract database. So again, it's a database. and it is a searchable database. So that's an important one to recognize. So just to give you an idea of what we have, so under Scopus, you have a lot of publishers. Okay, so Elsevier takes 10%, which is a lot, 10% of the publications indexed under Scopus. And then you've got all the famous ones, so Black Whale, Taylor and Francis, Sage, Oxford, IEEE, which is an engineering, because I work with engineers. So IEEE, it's a very famous publisher with the engineering field, Cambridge University Press, etc. So you can see this is just an example of this is published by their website, and these are the famous publishers that their website or their the database includes, basically. Also, they have their coverage. When it comes to their coverage, they have a variety of topics covered. So life sciences, as you can see, covers 31%. Social sciences, life sciences 17%, social sciences 31%, physical sciences 27%, and health sciences 26%. So as I said, they do a lot of technology, health, technical publications, but they do also social sciences. So you've got a lot, they have a wide coverage of journals that publish different, they publish in different fields of knowledge. Now, with the Scopus, if you just type in Scopus list, as simple as that, just the Scopus list, 2 words, in Google, this is what, when you open their website, this is what you find. They have an Excel sheet, the Excel sheet that you can download. I actually download it every 6 months or something, because they update the information in that. So I always update my version in my computer, and I save it, and I always check every website. So under Scopus, as you can see here, there are 39,647 around 40,000 journals indexed under, around 40,000 journals indexed under Scopus in different fields, not just literature or English or but just all fields of knowledge. And basically, you can just use Control F and find the index. You find the journal in the Excel sheet, okay? Or alternatively, you can do this, okay? This is when you find when you search for a journal, you choose a title, as you can find in the orange on the left side of your screen. Please look at the just look at the window open, and you can choose the title and put the title on the just next to it. Just type in or copy paste the title of the journal, or you can choose the subject area, and then you will find, for example, and they have it ready for you: language, literature, criticism. So it's all there, and you find the journals underneath. Okay, and I'll show you how. Here. So, for example, I just found you type in. And the enter title, you type in the title of the journal, and it will show you, is it indexed under Scopus or not? Okay, so I chose one journal. I just typed it in, and this is an Iraqi journal. I just wanted to kind of try this, and it's called Iraqi Journal of Agricultural Sciences, okay? And the term that I'm looking for when it comes to impact factor is CiteScore, okay? So, with Web of Science, we have talked about citation index. That's the term associated with Web of Science. With Scopus, the term that is used with Scopus is CiteScore. And you find it just on the next to source title. Just the column to the very next to the title of your journal. And in this case, it is 0.06. So it is very low. And this is as you could expect in an Iraqi journal, but just to let you know, a lot of good journals with great publishers, they have low impact factor because it depends on citations, and sometimes they don't get it in 1 year, so that's why they are dropped out. So when we look for, I'm just going to repeat it again, when we, the term that I'm looking for when it comes to Scopus is site score, and this means impact factor in this case, okay? So this would be maybe, 0.06. It might, next year, it might drop out of Scopus, so we need to be careful about these journals with very low impact factors, okay? So this is kind of what we look for. And then other information, which also you can just, if you press on the journal, you will find something like that. Just press on the title and you have everything that you need. The site score on the left, on the right side of your screen, and it is 0.06, it's the same one. And it'll show you the publisher, in this case, it's University of Baghdad, College of Agriculture. And it'll show you the ISSN and the subject area and all the details that you need for any journal. So this is kind of the process that is done when you want to look for any journal in Scopus, okay? Also, Scopus gives us another service, if you want, and basically it's, as I said, it's Elsevier is the publisher, which is called, it's a journal finder. So you type in the title of your paper and the abstract, and will give you some suggestions for journals. Okay, I don't highly recommend this because actually this, there are other ways to look for journals. As I said, you can just look for the subject area, choose the subject area, and for example, I did it this morning. I found 5 or 6. Okay, it is as simple as that, and you can just basically look for it, and you will have hundreds of journals. This is the question I get asked because I have been teaching this, and I have been asked so many times, how can I find a journal? It is very hard to find a journal. Oh, it's almost impossible to find. Everybody complains about this, and it's actually not. It is very easy to find a journal. It is difficult to publish. That's the dichotomy of kind of the whole process. It is very easy to find a journal. It is very difficult to publish. Okay, to get accepted. So I think that's the crucial part. I did it once with one of the academics who was just complaining, I can't find any journal. I was like, let's sit down, let's do it. On my phone, I found him hundreds of journals. There's just no lack of journals in any field. There is just, not knowing how to access it, the knowledge as how to access it. That's simply kind of, that's what it is. Now, these are the suggestions, as I said, with the finding journals. I'm just going to go because I'm running out of time. So I'm just going to talk about, when we talk about these journals, what are good journals? How come, when we look at journals, look, this is a good one, this is not a good one. We talk about predatory journal and BL list. BL list, probably are familiar with this, and it is published with كتب الوزارة كلها موجودة. It is simple, a BEA, yes, double L, and basically it publishes a list of predatory journals. So that's simple, that's not difficult to find. One thing I say over and over when we talk about journals, everybody's like, how do you know this is a good journal or not? The first thing that we need to look at is publishers. Please look at the publisher before you go and do everything that I told you to do in this talk or in this presentation. The first thing that you look at, the first thing that you do is look at the publisher. If you find Sage, if you find Oxford University Press, if you find University of Virginia Press, if you find, for example, Manchester University Press, if you find Blackwell or Routledge, this is a very good journal. It might not be in Scopus for that year, which is, there is a small chance, but it is a good, prestigious journal. Okay, but what makes a scholarly prestigious journals? What are the criteria that we are talking about? First and foremost, we are talking about a very rigorous, reviewing process. It takes time. It is time consuming and it is very rigorous. I have received not more than once some brutal criticism. Okay. I always say this, but with academia, we have to have a bit of a thick skin. You have to accept no when it comes to publications. And it's not just me. Even my professors, and my friends now in academia abroad, they struggle with the same issue. Sometimes it is a bit subjective. I can't deny this, because that same paper that was brutally critiqued, I actually got it published later on. But having said that, one of the main criteria that we talk about when it comes to prestigious journals is very rigorous. So please doubt, I always say this, but approach the publication process with a healthy dose of skepticism. Always be skeptical. And being skeptical helps. It helps. Why? Because any journal that publishes your paper within 2 weeks or a month, I wouldn't consider it good. I will have a huge doubt about that. Any journal that takes your money, takes $700 or something like that, I don't give money for journals. I don't. Because all of these good journals, and this is another topic for another day, most of these prestigious journals are actually not open access. They are, you cannot access them unless you have a subscription. So you have access to, for example, JSTOR or Project Muse or these databases, and they are usually free. And I will repeat this. I say this because this is kind of the talk of academia today. Especially in other fields, not English. Those people who are struggling with their English, they will say, I paid $900. What? $900 to publish a paper? No. This is, for me, that is a huge, that is a huge kind of red line here. Just watch it. If a journal publishes your paper very quickly, with no rigorous or time consuming process, I would have my doubts for me. So usually that includes 2 to 4 referees or reviewers and blind reviewers, and these journals also they have a high rate of rejection. Usually 50%, and sometimes once I read a journal that has 80% rejection rate. They reject 80% of their incoming papers. Imagine. With Iraqi academia, sadly, they accept everything, and that's partly why it's not that great. So articles published tend to be also highly cited and within very good, it's published within very good, publishers. So So I said, reviewing the process, time, when you say rigorous, definitely time is an issue. And also they have a high rate of rejection rate. And then also the articles are usually highly cited. And just doubt these journals also, these journals that are very broad, or they don't have a topic. They are published in engineering and literature. And I find this is crazy. So please, have your, as I said, a healthy dose of doubt when it comes to these journals, because they have these kind of the good journals. They are specific, and you have to look at when you open their website, you will have the area. What are they interested, their scope, and this is important part to check. When you choose the journal, you need to look at also the scope of the journal. Okay. And also, publishing in these ISI journal, it's a good indicator of your research is a contribution to that field of knowledge, as we are going to talk about in a minute. Okay, so how to choose a journal? I said, first of all, the field of knowledge. So know your field, and then the second thing that I would say is to check the publisher is the first thing I look at. Like for me, it's an automatic response now. This is everything. Whenever I look at the journal, I look at the publisher before I look at anything else. Okay, and then you can check, of course, the impact factor. What is done in academia in Iraq, and this is something I have seen over and over and over in departments, and I have been teaching this for a while. What happens usually in departments, because we are all under pressure to publish, so I mean, I give us the credit when it comes to that. Somebody would publish in one journal, and let's say your colleague, and then all the people in that department would go and publish in the same journal, and that is an error. Why? Because the journal might be predatory, you know, and it might not be a good journal. So don't depend. My advice is not to depend on anyone but yourself when it comes to, you check it. Okay, take all the information that you need and you check your journal. You do it yourself. Don't depend if somebody else did it, or, you know, he published or she published in that journal. You check the journal yourself. Make sure that it is okay. Okay, so determine the impact factor, as I have taught you in the hour I have shared with you. You look at which quarter, so Q1, Q2, Q3, and this is also in Scopus. You can also look at it in Shimago. It's very clear, it's very easy to look at. And also determine, when you look at the journal, open the website. Some of these predatory journals, which are, again, I'm gonna repeat, they are indexed under BEAL, B-E-A-L-L. If you just type in BEAL list, it's there. But they're also, sometimes they add in every year. So some journals are very tricky. They have a very good web page and they look great. And they also have impact factor, but then they are predatory. So they check. But if you want to look at the when you want to choose a journal, you look at the scope, and you look at their coverage. Some journals discontinue, so they are not regular. This is not a good sign. How many issues per year? Always see consistency in publication. The fees, as I say, really good journals within the publishers that I mentioned, most cases, they are free. They don't pay a penny to publish in these journals. And I repeat, this is something that a lot of people say, I paid $500, I paid $600. You don't need to pay that much money to publish. Okay, and check the length and structure of the manuscript. So this is how you choose a the first thing that you need to know is know your field. And this is something that I always say. I have a notebook. I don't know if I have it here. I'm just gonna bring it share it with you. I don't know if you can see me, Dr. Adra. Can you see me in my camera? I don't know.
Oh no, we've lost the video, Doctor.
Oh, you've lost the video. Okay. But anyways, I can describe.
Why? I can see you, Doctor.
Okay, cool. Good. So this is a notebook that I keep.
I
this
have
is for yeah. So this is basically a notebook, and I have one on my computer as well. But this is where I keep all my notes, because any academic develops his or her own database. I'm not responsible to know like good journals in chemistry or in even linguistics, but I'm responsible of basically getting to know and basically compiling my database in fiction journals in fiction, novel, my specialty. So basically what I do, I write everything down. I write journals, and I have one for associations, so this is something I do, but I have with the journals, and I write if they have impact factor, and I even write what citation guide they require. Do they require Chicago? Do they require APA or MLA or whatever? I have a list, and I have another list on my computer as well. When I want to publish, I don't start my search from zero. I go back to my list and I look at what is the appropriate one for this particular paper. Okay, and I write everything down and I build on it. this is not something that you can do over a month or two, but it is your life mission as an academic to keep on adding and developing and basically accomplishing that aim to be established within your field of knowledge. So with the reviewing process, I think I'm going to skip this for the sake of time, but just with the publication, when you want to choose a journal, the first criteria that reviewers look at, of course, you answer questions. A lot of you are already reviewers in journals, so you already know this. I'm not going to go and talk about it in a lot of detail. But the main criteria that the reviewers look at is contribution to knowledge. Okay, does this paper add to that specific field of knowledge? How does it talk to the existing literature? How does the argument present itself within that field of knowledge? And this is the most important part that I want to talk to you about, because when we talk about writing a paper, and this is again a topic for another day, but one of the essential questions that we want to address and look at is how we situate our paper within the existing field of knowledge, how our paper talks to and addresses other people within the same field. And this means recency of your references, but also your understanding and grasp of the theory and what other people have argued and how you basically talk with them. Okay, and that's kind of one of the main things that you as a reviewer, or when you present your paper, the reviewers are going to look at originality and contribution to knowledge. And this is something also we look at with the PhD thesis, as you all know. So there's something to be considered. And also when I choose my paper, when I choose my journal that I want to, for example, this is a very good journal that specializes in fiction, but then I'm writing about poetry. This is not relevant. It's still literature, but this is not relevant to me. So I'm not going to present my paper. So we need to look at the scope. Okay, I'm looking at the scope, and we look at also the coverage within that journal. And also, we need to always make, this is my suggestion, I always do this, I always make a list. When I present a journal, when I have a paper, I do a list of what kind of possibilities do I have. Plan A, plan B, plan C usually, okay? So you always have the chance to present it again when you get a rejection, which is a possibility, as I said. When thick skin in academia, thick skin, this is what I have learned over the years. And it should not deter you, because sometimes you just go on and publish it again. So how you increase your citation within my papers, this is something also to consider. Now, I've already talked about this. This is the contribution. This is essential, actually. So the question that you want to look at, my research shows that, and other scholars should appreciate my research because, okay? And this is something that you need to push forward. And this is something that we don't encourage our we are not encouraged to do, like the I. When I went to Manchester to do my PhD, my supervisor used to always tell me, he's American, so he was always to say, own it. And I did not understand what he meant at the beginning. It's like, what does that mean? Own it. And my friend, who is also American, she's like, oh, we American always say own it. So it's all about your voice, how you distinguish your research against the others, how you make yourself and your research kind of, how you situate your research within that field, within that literature, and don't be bold about it. You don't have to be arrogant, but bold. And this is, again, why research shows that, and then other scholars should appreciate my research because, and this is kind of, it's an important bit that we need to look at when we talk about originality and contribution. So the editors look at, as I said, originality, relevance. So these are I have talked about, but also they look at methodology, things that probably in my field it's not a big deal, but let's say if you are doing a paper in other fields, it's very, very important. Clarity, theoretical and practical implications, experimental results. Not relevant to my field, but it's relevant to a lot of other fields. Recency and relevance of references, adherence to editorial scope and objectives. And this is, again, important. So when you look at, of course, you look at how sound your design and your results and your presentation. So all these are important. And we look at these things, of course, as academics. But also we need to look at, you need to look at the journal itself. What does it require from you? You always read what they require. Do they require? I mean, I have spent countless hours, changing my citation, my citations. Why? For example, one journal I write usually MLA. Okay, but the journal requires Chicago. I go on and change everything. I once did it with Harvard again. I went on to every citation with it, and not just the references at the end, but even what they require, how writing numbers, the everything that is required, and every good journal should have a guidelines for authors. Usually they write it guidelines for authors, or write author guidelines, or whatever they call it, or submission guidelines, but they have these, and we need to stick by those. You need to adhere to these guidelines and read them, not just with citation. You see if it's MLA or APA or Chicago or other things, but we need to also to see how they want it to be presented. Okay, do they need a covering letter? Do they need a title, a title page? What do they need? What else do they need? Okay, you need to basically design your paper. Once you decide on that journal, we need to adhere to their guidelines. And I would advise to save the original version, which is written probably in MLA or IPA or whatever, and then probably, because you're gonna have to change it again. So this is something, so save 2 versions, because sometimes just to save us time. So in addition to the recency and the references, the relevance of references, we need to look at these little small details, because any reviewer, probably some of you are, they will ask you, do they adhere to did the author adhere to the guidelines? Or you have to actually, when you submit, you have to tick, I wrote this paper according to MLA, for example. Okay. Reasons for rejection. Reasons for rejection. I'm not going to lie and say it is an easy, it's an easy walk in the park and it's very easy to publish. No. It's not. It is very time consuming. It is exhausting. And sometimes it's frustrating. So we've got all to be patient when it comes to publishing in these kind of journals, because sometimes it takes 6 months and then you get a rejection, or 6 months and you get acceptance with suggestions to correct and resubmit. So it's like a thesis, right? So, but the main reasons that you are rejected, one of the simpler ones that usually go with the editor-in-chief, when you are sending it to the wrong journal, so to speak. What does this mean? That means it's not really relevant to the journal. For example, you're doing something theoretical and you send it to a practical or a journal that just has to do with applications, something like that. So out of scope. This is what is called out of scope. Again, there are other things that not originality. It's already written about. It's already been covered. So it is not something that is not, it's already been written about. It's not original. Then you have errors within it is not sound. For example, you have data an old data or irrelevant or wrong, some difficulties, doubtful results. So you've got something that has to do with the design and the application. Conflict of interest is another one. And ethical issues. For example, those who do work with experimental work, and they have not observed ethical issues. For example, interviewing children or things like that. So there are ethical issues that have not been observed. And most of all, it's also, these are the general problems. But then you have scientific problems when you have unclear hypothesis. Okay, poor or weak design. So this is kind of the main thing. Simple, biased, or too small. You cannot usually. One of the things that also you have to look at when you look at the guidelines, how many words. You can't send 10,000 words to a journal that requires 8,000. I once got a I sent a paper to a journal and I was over by 300 words, and they asked me to delete these 300 or to adjust and resubmit. 300 words, and they did not accept it. So we need to be, yes, it was just very strict. So sometimes you've got scientific problems with the statistics, with the, especially those who do experimental work, as I said, the conclusions unjustified or references outdated. And this is important. One of the things that we look at as reviewers, and when you want to send your papers, is look at what other people's, and they don't hear you that so you're in Iraq, we don't have references. They cannot really understand that. So it is very important to know what people say in the field, to use the not just up-to-date references, but good ones, very good ones in the field. And this is, I can't stress this enough. Your references is the first, and this is I always tell my postgrad students, your thesis is not just good. It's not just about the writing. Good thesis start with good research. Good research is the first step to good. And it's the same with whether it's a thesis or a paper. And again, a lot of good papers are not, you cannot find good references, but it's important to, I read on Google. I paid subscription to JSTOR so that I can get access. I did a lot of things so that I get access to good articles, because the first thing that they look at is your list of references. What do you have? You cannot really publish an article with not just any website or thesis. I did not have any thesis in my. I had over 600 references in my PhD thesis. Not even one is a thesis or a dissertation. Not even one. These are not acceptable as references in, and I'm talking about a thesis, not a paper. So all these good references, you have to look at the publishers, the names. I Google the names of the authors. I look at the theory. So these are in addition to good writing, of course, which we are going to talk about here, style problems, okay? So poorly organized, again, reasons for rejection. Poorly organized, badly written, errors, bad tables, needless figures, or basically poorly written references or outdated references. So these are also other reasons for rejection. Okay, so we've got scientific problems, general problems, scientific problems, and presentation or style problems. Now, with the author mistakes that we can do, we don't duplicate publications. It's a very ethical responsibility. You cannot really send a paper to multiple publishers at the same time, or multiple journals at the same time. Most journals that I know, that they don't accept that policy. You have to send one journal to one paper at a time to journals. So you cannot really, it's an ethical thing. So you cannot do that. And then plagiarism. Of course, that's one of the main things that we also struggle with, plagiarism. So they look at your references and things like they can tell you like you have too many or not many references. So both ways are really kind of critical here. Or, of course, the plagiarism when you don't mention the idea, the authors, etc. So a lot of us, we don't do this. This is with mostly for grad students, but it's, again, it is something to be considered. So a lot of journals, they have these policies, again, like a thesis, accepted without revisions, which is rare, accepted with minor revisions, if you're lucky, accepted with major revisions, it happens a lot, and accepted but encouraged to resubmit. So this is something that you can do. These are the options that you are given. The first one, if accepted without revisions, you know, as I said, it's not very common. But the second one, this is if you get that, you're lucky. Accepted with minor revisions or major revisions. It happened with me once, and basically, kind of the editor-in-chief, she said, well, if you want to do these revisions, fine. If you don't want to do them, don't. And I was like, wow, that is lucky. That is great. So yeah, I read the report, and usually the reports are 2-3 pages. I got ones that were 4 pages. This is what rigorous means. Rigorous means that you get detailed feedback and specific suggestions. And again, there are some subjective issues here. I'm not going to deny this and say it is academia as heaven, because sometimes, as I said, I shared that report that I got once, and it was uncalled for, really. It was uncalled for because I got 2 reports at the same time. One was objective, what was like, and it was actually, the recommendation was accepted with revisions. And the other one went ballistic about it. He or she, I don't know, he or she just went crazy about it. It is expected. Sometimes it happens within academia. And I shared this report with one of my friends in academia, and she teaches in a very good university in the US, and she said that's not called for. This is, you know, it's just not appropriate. So it happens. It happens to all of us. But I got the journal published, so I got the last word. So here you go. And the final, I want to end this presentation with these strategies. And again, once again, there are so many things to talk about, so many tips to cover. But when I talk about strategies, first of all, we need to understand the chemistry of scholarly research. Everything like relationships has chemistry, right? So you have this chemistry in research and search, how you do it, how you find these good journals, how you research them, how you find the good ones for your own field, how you develop your own database. So there are so many things to consider. Strategy number 2, we talk about the importance of theory and literature. I can't stress this enough. When we talk about, if you have a paper on gender and you miss the main key scholars in the field, you're definitely going to be called for it. They're gonna tell you, your reviewers are gonna, you missed this, you missed that. That's not, you know, if your main theory, your main paper is on gender and you miss the main names, you miss key scholars, that is a hole in your paper. So you always watch your theory and your literature. And I always call, this is what I teach my grad students, I call it the A to Z method. What does this mean? It means I with good journals, again, you start from a good article, a good paper, a good thesis, you start with good research. I start with the very good ones. I go to their references and I look for them. These are any paper or any article definitely has key authors or key scholars. I look for them and I go from that author to the references. I flip the article upside down. I look to the last page, and I look for the references and I search for them, because good authors, good scholars use good references. It is a trusted method that I have used over and over and over. So this is strategy number 2. Number 3, start writing during the initial stages. This is something that we can have debate on. It is not something final, but I would say especially for grad students, but I keep notes, and I do this. I write as I go. I don't keep the writing at the end because ideas come and go. And I always keep a document for I call them my paper, my ideas document, or a notebook. Doesn't matter whether you keep it on a pen or paper or a document, but you write as you go because you forget. Especially if you, like, any paper should have at least 30, 35, but you have read probably 60 references, you're gonna forget. And sometimes writing does not happen until months later, so you're gonna forget. So write things and then polish them. So that's another strategy suggested here. Strategy number 4, master the key concept of impact factor peer review. So as you go, you develop this. I did not start this, my journey with this, as a specialist, but I developed this. I went on, I searched, and I went on, I read, and I developed that kind of skills. And we all need these skills so that you can know the impact factor, the predatory journals. We know that there are, the review process, what is required, what is not required, what to do and not what is not to do, etc. And then the strategy number 5, build networks. So as I said, going to a conference is a great network opportunity. For example, to develop, I've been invited to write a book chapter after a conference. It happened to me personally. Also collaborations, because you meet people in your field, whether it's a conference, a workshop, something like that, and you can collaborate together. So networking is essential to publications, and also a scientific. And also associations. I'm a member, I pay membership fees to a number of associations so that I get the information of conferences or publication opportunities ready. Especially with my field, the crime fiction. I'm a member of 2 or 3 ones, and also popular culture. And I go to them, so they have levels of these associations, and I pay fees every year so that I get the information ready in my email. I don't need to go and search for conferences or publication opportunities. And the final strategies is plagiarism and proofreading. I cannot, this is very, very important. The more you proofread, and if you can have somebody proofread it for you or read it and give you feedback, again, because you get used to it, you don't see the mistakes anymore, have some break and read it again, have somebody else read it for you. Plagiarism is good. Sometimes it's not done by, with malice, with plagiarism. You just you don't, you quote and you don't put the references. I spend hours with the last paper I published with Routledge, with Taylor and Francis. After I was accepted, I spent 2 days checking every single reference, every single page on every reference. I spend hours on end checking, because that's my responsibility. And I know I have done it correctly, but, we are all humans, we make mistakes, and I checked it again and again and again. So I checked every quotation and every page number, whether it's placed within that, I checked it again. So checking, rechecking, plagiarism, proofreading, these are also very important skills to master when it comes to publication. I'm going to end here. There are some references to but I'm going to end here and leave the floor for you because I've taken a long time, and I apologize for taking this. And I have to do a bit of a disclaimer before I end. I am not specialized in, I'm not a librarian. I'm not specialized in IT. So this is the fruit of hard work and a lot of research that I have done over the years. And also a gap that I faced when I was in Manchester, and people knew all these things and I didn't. So I had to work extra in order to bridge the gap and kind of make myself, develop myself and develop these skills as an academic. Thank you again for this opportunity, and I would love to hear your questions. And thank you for listening and being with me. I'm really honored and privileged. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Maysa. That was really enriching, and it was a great opportunity to listen to all these information. It's like a map. It mapped the way for me, at least, in so many ways. Dr. Muna has a comment.
No,
And
I just want to thank Dr. Maysa for this comprehensive and insightful presentation on a topic that is really much needed. Very much appreciated. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, your expertise. This is the true spirit of a scholar. Thank you so much. I don't want to take more time, just the floor definitely is open to any questions or comments. And thank you again, my love. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
thank you, Dr. Muna. Well, we will be waiting for questions. I think we have one on the chat box. But before that, I will ask a very quick question, Dr. Maysa. Well, I did publish in a conference proceeding, and it was indexed in the Thomson Reuters. How is it as important as publishing in indexed papers, or the conference proceeding will be less, well, academically, I mean, less
It's the
appreciated?
media recognized. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, I think a good answer would be if you publish one or two, that's fine. It's everything comes in moderation. That's my best suggestion here. So it is fine to publish if you have a great paper. If you have something that you are confident, this is good, this is well written, this is well researched, I wouldn't recommend a conference proceedings. That you know that you can publish, you have a good opportunity, because everything comes within, as I said, there's a hierarchy. Even within publications, sadly enough, there is this hierarchy. So it is fine if you participated in a conference and you turned a conference paper into you published it in the proceedings, that's absolutely fine. But if you had a great paper and you are confident this is a good paper, I would go for an indexed journal. So it's fine to do it once, twice, but because it's easier to get. It's easier to get. So if it depends on your goal, and it depends on what you want, but it is definitely recognized. That's absolutely fine. But it is not as you go when you publish it in a great publisher I'm talking. So we have two things to observe here. متطلبات الوزارة, right? Which we are struggling with. Okay.
Yes, it's number one
and
for
I
us.
said it in Arabic, right? This is what you are required to do here. I work in two parallel lines. As an academic here in Iraqi academia and as an academic in the world, okay? So I tend to do both, because I want to publish great papers. And I know sometimes these papers can be published, locally or something because they're easy to get and you're required to do them. But if you have a paper that you worked so hard on it, then you can publish in a good journal. And especially these journals, as I said, with good publishers. So if you're looking by Oxford University Press, if you're looking for example, Blackwell, Routledge, for example, all of these good good publishers, Elsevier, all of these, Springer, of course. So all these publishers, these are good for your career as an academic, if you like outside Iraq as well.
Tamam. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
We have a question from Miss Ibtihal, if I'm reading the name correctly, El Tamimi. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for this interesting workshop. How can I make sure that the journal where I submit my research will not be excluded from the Scopus, especially when the publishing procedures take time, maybe 2 to 3 months?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And as I said, it all depends on the CITES score. So you look at the CITES score. If it is 0.01, there's a good chance that it might be dropped out of Scopus, because it just depends on the number, okay? On the number of citations for a journal within a year. And that's basically it. So sorry, did I...
Completely. It's the normal.
It's my power.
Yes. It's all right. You are still with us.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm still here? Okay,
yes.
Sorry, it's just my power. So what I would suggest, if you go for quarter one under Scopus. These are journals with more than 0.01 or 2, then you have a good chance that will stay. Because yes, it takes time, you're correct. And there is always the chance that it might, it might be dropped out of Scopus. But if it's within quarter 1 or 2, there is a good chance that it stays, especially with these really good publishers. I mean, there is no one guaranteed way, except for watch the site score and how much it is, because that's if it is, if it's very low, then there is a good chance that it might be dropped out. That's my suggestion. Again, a very clear disclaimer: I am not specialized in IT or in indexing services. I'm not a librarian. This is my own research. So if I've given some wrong information, please forgive me and correct me. I would be honored to be corrected here.
Well, the best knowledge comes from experience. So no, you're more than qualified in this field. I'm going to invite our attendants, and if anyone has any questions. If not, we will be closing the session by this. So if anyone would like to say something, you're more than welcome. Yes, Dr. Sana, I think. Dr. Sana Lazar from College of Art. Hello.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. I want to thank you, Maysa, for the rich information that you have been explaining to us. And I think we have already discussed such things, such issues like the ministry requirements and the university requirements in Iraq, which are, I don't know, those who are responsible for doing them or putting them. I don't know what they are thinking of, because once I did a book with the UNESCO, and the lady asked for a credit or something, a paper that says that we in Iraq recognize this this office. It is really ridiculous, because who doesn't know what is UNESCO or UNICEF?
It's
and when you are working with them, yes, she wanted
for accreditation. Yes,
she wanted something that says that we recognize it as an official and accredited organization. Now, come on, right? And you remembered. Yeah, we just talked about it 2 or 3 months ago. So sometimes it is ridiculous, and sometimes you feel that it's in vain, that when you publish something in a magazine, a journal, which is part of Thomson Reuters or Clarivet, and then they just tell you that no, this is not the right goal for you. No, it's not good. We don't recognize it as So still in Iraq, we need certain regulations that organize the work. We are still not organized. This is why I don't know, I feel all this race towards publishing your research in Scopus or indexed journals. I feel that it would go in vain, especially with the money that everybody is paying. I hear numbers like $1,000, $900, and things like that. And I feel no, this is not an academic way of doing it. Yes.
Well, Dr. Sana, you've raised a very important point, because a week or so before there was an official letter says that the postgraduate students, they have to publish
they wouldn't get that high level unless they publish and Scopus. Those who get their Viva, you wouldn't give them
might be an extra weight on their writing process.
You cannot give them excellent in their Viva, and unless there is it became a sort of condition. And I think this is wrong,
It's unfair.
Okay, it's important that
Really
you
unfair.
should publish in Scopus or indexed journals, but it's not a condition for getting your
Degree.
excellent degree.
Yeah.
Yes.
There are a lot of issues to discuss. If we want to go over these, we're going to spend an hour lamenting,
Yes.
our
Yes,
situation.
alas.
I think we are struggling with this. They did not accept my book, which is with Springer, for my
Yes,
promotion.
I remember
Just to
you
say
told me
that.
about that. Yes.
So
Yes.
I mean, it's a bit of a very kind of it's random in a lot of places, and sometimes it's unfair. As I said, my best strategy when it comes to that, I work, as I said, in parallel lines. So sometimes you have to do things for
And this
local
is
purposes,
exhausting.
and then I do things for my career, which is
Yeah,
exhausting.
Yeah, a joke I remember from one of my friends, my colleagues, when I wanted to start doing the papers for my promotion. I remember he said, I told him, he said, "Do you have? We have two tables," and then he said, "What did you introduce for the second table?" I said, "Well, one of my books will get 15 marks, then I wouldn't be it wouldn't be difficult to cover all the needed marks." And he says, "No, don't do that. You shouldn't introduce or give them that privilege of torturing you because of a book." Well, I said, "It's my book. I did it, and it is in it is published in Macmillan, so it's a book. Why?" And he said, "No, you will be tortured, and your promotion will take very long time. It might it might not be done until 5 or 6 years from now." So I just did not introduce the book, and this is طبعا it's a joke here.
Such an
You cannot
unfortunate.
introduce the book. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can't do it.
The same thing happened with Maysa. I remember she did not introduce the book because of the regulations, because of the torture of some of the officials when they are doing the paperwork and everything.
Yeah, we all have struggles when it comes to that.
Yes.
But it doesn't help. It does help that you know kind of what is required and what is not, and then you work outside it.
Of course.
And you work outside alongside it, and I think it is. I think it's worth it to pursue one's career outside of these requirements.
Oh, yeah, this is important. Yes, you have to have two lines working. You have to have two plans, plan A and B, and work for to develop them all the time. Yes. Thank you very much, Maysa.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sana and Dr. Maysa. Because we don't have any more questions or participant to speak, I would like to thank you so much. Of course, we would want to thank Dr. Mona for her endless effort with us and with organizing and supervising all of these webinars. And thank you, Dr. Maysa, for this great effort and priceless research and speech presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share with you
Most welcome. Our pleasure. Thank you, everyone.
I'm also want to thank Dr. Mona for her introduction again, and for supervising and basically inspiring all these webinars and all the events that we hold within our group. Thank you.
Thank you, and we will have more
webinars
next month.
Thank you.
Most welcome. My pleasure. My pleasure. It was my pleasure. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night. We'll see you next month.
Thank you. Good night.